What's up guys, Sean here, and today I want to talk to you about knife maintenance essentials. First off, when it comes to knife maintenance, you're going to need a couple things. These include a nice little parts tray like this to keep little pieces or little parts and screws from rolling off your table and losing them into the abyss. Next up on the list of essentials are quality tools, mainly TORX drivers. The most important tools when it comes to knife maintenance are your TORX drivers. You want to get quality TORX drivers or quality bits so you're not stripping out your screws on your nice expensive knives or even your cheaper budget knives. Nobody likes stripping out screws, and nobody likes tools that fail. So on cheaper TORX drivers, oftentimes the star head of them will become deformed, and that leads to you ending up stripping out screws because of the extra slack in between the slots and the screw. But when you have nice quality hardened steel TORX tips, you don't have any play or slop in between the bit and the screw, and that ensures a nice strong it ensures that you're not going to strip anything out. I've tried out a ton of different TORX drivers and TORX bits, and I have found that these are my favorite of them all. These Wiha soft touch TORX drivers come in a 6-pack for $30. It's like $29.99 or something like that. And I really only use these 3 sizes, the T10, the T8, and the T6. But for the price of those 3 individually, actually less than the price of those 3 individually, you get the whole 6-pack, which comes with T7, T9, and T15, which are much less common. However, from time to time you can come across those sizes on certain knives, so it's good to have. Next thing that you want to have is some pivot oil. I prefer Gunny Glide. This pivot oil works extremely well. It has helped the action free up on several knives that were just a little bit stiff and didn't want to close smoothly. This stuff really works. The theory behind it is the graphene that is suspended inside of this oil, and that helps to fill in imperfections in between the surfaces. And the graphene is actually harder than steel. It is flat. It's like the flattest molecule or particle or whatever the hell you want to call it, because it's only one-dimensional, and it has a higher lubricity than pretty much anything else. So and it is resistant to water displacement. So basically the water is not gonna easily just flush that away. So if you get your knife wet, you don't necessarily have to re-oil your knife, because your Gunny Glide should stay put. Now, the next thing I want to recommend is some medium Loctite, semi-permanent. Never use permanent, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to use this properly so you don't get yourself in a pickle. And this tool right here, little pick I have, also comes in handy when it comes to using Loctite. So I'll get into that when I give you the demonstration of how to use the Loctite properly. Then we have EDCI, this is what I use to protect my carbon steel knives if I don't want them to patina or corrode. A couple of mine I have let just patina on their own, like this one, and then some others I've done forced patinas on, which also protects the carbon steel. But I have a few that I want to keep nice and pretty looking, so this stuff works pretty good. And then another thing, alcohol. This is 91% alcohol in here. I suggest putting it in a little spray bottle. And this works for multiple things when it comes to your knives. When you're disassembling it and you're doing your maintenance and you're cleaning it, you can spray everything down with the alcohol. Get yourself some microfibers. Keep a lot of microfibers on hand. This is also extremely important. And you can just spray down the knife, and this will get up any oil, dirt, grime, gunk, tape residue. When you're sharpening your knives and you're marking the edge with Sharpie, after you're all done, the alcohol will get that up just like that, like it's nothing. The marker will wipe away clean. Boom, done. This stuff really, it's really useful. And after I cut open a bunch of boxes with tape and stuff, spray down the blade, wipe away all that tape residue. So you don't want to be leaving tape residue on your blades, because that will attract dirt and stuff to stick to the blade. And then when you go to cut through something, that if it's a harder piece of dirt or rock or whatever, it can scratch your blade all up, it can tear your edge up, it can do a lot of things. So don't be lazy, get that tape residue off your blade. And moving onward, the next thing on the list, you want to have some Windex laying around if you have some nice pretty anodized hardware, because over time, it might collect oil and stuff. This anodizing happens to be done by my buddy Angelo, and you really don't need Windex when it comes to his anodizing. This stays nice and bright. It does not lose its color like some other anodizing I've seen. But nonetheless, every once in a while, you don't want to do it too much, because you don't want to be rubbing the anodizing, over and over again, or it could fade. But from time to time, if you want to brighten it up like brand new, you can just drop a little bit of Windex on there. Here, I'll show you. Just drop a little Windex on there, and then I'm gonna kind of blot it. You don't want to really rub it too much, like I said, because you don't want that finish to get worn down. But if you take a look at that, I don't know if you guys can tell in the video any real difference, especially since this is very well done anodizing, and like I said, it doesn't really fade, but that does brighten up your ano. Here, let me show you some faded ano. Alright, here's some faded ano. Put the Windex on. Just gonna kind of blot it. Sometimes it takes a second. It kind of has to dry out a little bit. But yep, you see that darkening up? Beautiful. See how this side's kind of dull? A little bit of Windex. Bring it right back up. Pretty cool stuff. My favorite knife right here. You guys should feel honored that I busted this bad boy out for you. It's like, I'm just kidding. But anyway, it's my other favorite. These are such fucking badass knives. I love my Hinders. Overpriced, yes, but they are sexy as heck. Can't get over that. I know, I'm a weirdo. So, let's see. Gone over that, gone over this, that, blah, blah, blah. Alright, on to the Loctite deal. I'll demonstrate on this. So, another thing why I recommend these drivers instead of just the Wiha bits, you don't have to switch out any bits. That's always annoying as crap to me. Switching out the bits in between. You have your main sizes and you don't have to switch anything around. Has nice full size handles that are comfortable and have plenty of grip and plenty of leverage to break your screws loose very easily and keep your hardware nice and safe. And you see how that screw just dropped right down in my tray? That is the point of having a little parts tray. Boom. Simple. Okay, so I took the scale off because I want to show you the purpose of the pick. And I guess this isn't the perfect knife to demonstrate on because I don't have any Loctite down in there. However, if you have previously used Loctite on a knife, sometimes you will see it start to build up. Oh. Come on, focus, buddy. Inside that hole. Alright? You'll see just blue. It'll look like blue is hardened, blocking that hole. Especially if you take both screws out, it will actually be blocking this pivot from being able to see through it. So what you do in that case, you take a pick like this. You take a pick like this and you just punch it through and you scrape it out and you get all that old Loctite out of there, because that will oftentimes keep you from getting a nice smooth action. If you have that blockage in there and then you put the knife back together without clearing that out, and you tighten everything down or you add new Loctite, it's just going to build up more and more and you won't be able to get a smooth action. I don't know all the science behind it, but it doesn't allow the screws to sit right and tight where they're intended to sit. So this is handy. Now, how to properly use the Loctite and where it's needed. You really don't need it on your screws back here unless you have one that keeps coming loose for some strange reason. Don't need to Loctite these back here. Alright, where Loctite is sometimes necessary is in the pivot, especially if you have a knife that is really tight and you want the knife to be able to drop and you've already oiled it up and you maybe polished the washers, you've done all that and it still won't drop free. You might have to loosen up the pivot a little bit, and you don't want it loose to the point where there's blade play, but you don't need it all the way cranked down. So you might have it to where it's not really cranked down. The way to keep that screw secure where you want it is to use a little bit of Loctite. And I'm going to show you that, but first, while I have this halfway apart, I'll show you guys how I clean my knives and how I oil them. Alright, so just like that, pop that stuff apart. I'm gonna take my microfiber, spray the shit down. Alright, spray it down with some alcohol, and be generous, because whatever you don't wipe up with the rag is gonna evaporate. And that is the reason I use 91%, because that is going to evaporate a lot quicker. Then what I like to do, I do the same thing with the blade and the washer, and I also like to take a Q-tip and I spray this with alcohol. I get in the pivot with the Q-tip, blah blah blah. Then I take my pivot oil, alright, and you just want to do a little bit, alright, and kind of spread that around real lightly, and a little drop on the pivot. Drop the blade back on. Alright, I'm going to put a little drop right in the center near the pivot, and another drop right here. I'll work that around. I don't want really more than one drop. You just want one drop, spread around a little bit on in the detent hole and the detent track. Then take your washer. Ooh, let me back out. Back. Alright. So that's all together. Pop that back together like that. Pop your scale back on. Pop your scale screw or standoff screw, whatever, back in. And then we're going to take our Loctite. Alright. And alright. So we're not going to use all of that Loctite. What I'm going to do, put this on the screwdriver. Ooh, and drop it. Alright. Put that on my screwdriver like that. Then I'm going to wipe my finger off on my microfiber, and I'm only using what is left after I rolled it around in my finger, so it's not too excessive. Oh buddy, fucking focus. Thank you. Okay, then I'm gonna tighten it down, but I'm not cranking it down. I just turn it till it stops, and I do a like where I'm tightening it, but I let my fingers slip. I don't have a tight grip on the driver itself. Alright, and then yep, perfect action. Let's see, rock solid, zero play, zero movement back, or blah, zero movement side to side, up and down at all, completely drop shut. And you saw that washer, those pivot washers were not polished. They were pretty ugly looking. Smooth as butter. And that screw isn't going to back out on me because I have it locked in with the Loctite. But don't go overboard, guys. It's really, you really only need a little bit. So, hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much, and hopefully maybe you learned something new. If not, sorry for wasting your time, and if I did, glad I could help you. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.